How's it going, everyone? This is eFlex and welcome back to another A Producer's Approach video. In this video we're going to be looking at my buddy Eccentric's song, I Can Show You. So if you guys don't know how these videos work, I basically have a basic structure to these videos. I have an intro backstory section to start off the video. After that I have a breakdown analysis section where I listen to the song, and then after that I have an outro section kind of just summing up my thoughts and opinions. So basically, we're going to be looking at my buddy Eccentric's song, I Can Show You. This was his first release on Argofox, and I actually explained a lot of the backstory of how I met Eccentric when I did my breakdown video for our song Lost Without You on my main eFlex channel, but I'll pretty much retell the story here since it's relevant for this video. So basically, when this song came out in 2019, I hadn't heard much electro and complextro, and you guys know how much I like that music style. And then Eccentric released the song as his first release, and I was kind of blown away, and I was like, wow, this song's really good. And then shortly after that, some of the Argofox artists, we tried making like a mega collab, I guess you would say, and different artists were sectioned to do different parts of the song. The collab kind of fell through, but Eccentric and I were tasked to do the break section. So we kind of started talking when we were starting to work on that, but when that project fell through, we still kept talking, and we realized how much we had in common in terms of when we started making music, listening to music, the style of music that we liked, and he was really big into electro and complextro. So we both decided to make a song together. After I asked him, since I was like so enthralled with the fact that he made such a really good electro complextro song, and we ended up making Lost Without You. And Eccentric has basically made countless songs that I hopefully will do more APA videos on in the future, because his music's just so good, and it's just kind of fortunate that he's a buddy of mine that I've made over the years, just being in the music community and just kind of making music over all these years. So it's just kind of weird how the as my buddy Very Berry says, the music mafiosa works. So yeah, it's just kind of the backstory, but this is his very first release on Argofox. It's one of many good releases, and his complextro style is really good. So anyways, that's kind of the backstory on how I met Eccentric, and how I Can Show You kind of paved the way to us collabing in the future, and us being buddies and friends that can help each other with music questions and stuff like that from time to time here and there. So anyways, we'll get into the song and let's get started. Alright, so just to kind of break down that section. So basically, the intro starts off with a more traditional kind of introduction in terms of percussion wise, but he kind of starts off with a more 8-bit sound that's more in line with what Eccentric style is, and then he also kind of brings in that lead sound in the beginning. So there's like a lot of things actually going on for the intro of the song. Even though it's more of a traditional intro, he has like different kind of vocal chopping happening. He kind of has that 8-bit, he has like an 8-bit almost ARP-ish lead sound. Then he has like a bass line, kind of just sounds like playing like either a bass note or like a short progression. It's not like the full chord progression, it sounds like, but it's just kind of something there. And then the lead plays, which is pretty interesting. That's definitely more entertaining than a lot of the intros I've done. So kind of led into how we designed Lost Without You, because Lost Without You has a very similar introduction to that song as well. So we'll just keep going. Alright, so kind of in the beginning of that break section, he kind of has the vocal chop playing as well as kind of the bass sound, and it sounds like a pad playing, but you notice that they're kind of slowly increasing in volume, so it sounds like he had that filtered within that section before kind of the break, before the build up, where he has kind of his wubs come in. And I kind of like that section in general. It kind of gives like a breath of air, almost like in between each section. It doesn't just go from like the break straight into the build up. He just has kind of like a break of his wub with a lot of reverb just attached to that, and like it just, the kick just hits, the wub hits, and then there's like a lot of reverb, there's space, and then the wub hits again, and then it starts building up using some filtering, volume, automation, and then some vocal chops kind of mixed in between there, and then some white noise. But just, that's kind of nice how there's a little bit of a contrast between or there's a little bit of spacing, I should say, between the break section and the build up. It's not just straight off the bat. So let's get into it. Alright, so this section here is going to be the more melodic part, but just breaking down the last part we just heard. So that's more of the electro complextro drop. Before that in the build, you kind of hear the lead play and kind of be introduced, but it's in a lower volume, and then the drop kind of hits, and you don't really hear the lead till a little bit later on. But as his kind of wubs and vocal chops playing, you kind of notice how the wubs are still going and playing within the chord progression or the root note that was playing originally, like kind of within that chord progression. Even though there's like various different wub sounds, they're all still kind of playing within a kind of chord progression. So they're not like just random sounds added, like they're just maybe different notes within that progression, just like sounding different like a wub. So they're all following that kind of progression. And the percussion's a little more traditional to electro complextro, more 4/4 rhythm. And yeah, I like the break section between the complextro section, where there's a lot of more sound design sounds, versus the more melodic section. But all those wubs from Eccentric are really his key signature sound. Definitely what I noticed, and what, you know, I always listen for when listening to his songs after working with him, is those wubs and his bass lines. They're so clean. And also that 8-bit kind of little sound before the drop, that was really cool too. So he has like a nice mixture of a lot of 8-bit complextro-ish type sounds. So it's really cool. Now you're going to hear the lead really shine in this more melodic part when the chord progression kind of comes in with more of the saw waves. So let's get to that. Well, I was incorrect. I thought there was saw waves. Actually, the sounds are more 8-bit sounds, but it's really cool how, you know, they had that kind of more melodic section with more 8-bit kind of plucky, arpish sounds. So it sounded like a literal game sound, like with a lot of 8-bit chips almost like. And then it kind of transitions into that kind of wub transitioning and build up again. So I believe this is the build up to the second drop, but I could be wrong. But we'll keep listening to hear how the structure of the song goes. But basically, yeah, the drop was a little bit longer than I normally make personally my drops, but it fits really well because when you have Complextro, you kind of need the really sound design section as well as the more kind of melodic section to kind of even both sounds out, or both kind of styles out within one drop. So let's keep going. Alright, this is before the more melodic part. So basically that was the kind of build up into the second drop. And what you notice with his build ups into the drops is there's not like a really, really hard snare. The kick is playing, but the kick is really soft, at least from what I notice. It's not super, there's not a lot of high end and a lot of like top end tapping sound. So it's like you focus a little bit more on the sounds, at least for me, when listening to his kind of build up sections. But yeah, again, I love how he kind of breaks it with that wub. Even though this break section is a little bit shorter and a little bit more sudden than kind of the first break section into the first drop, but you can kind of tell that like he kind of separates like kind of the spacing of each drop, and then like he goes really hard with the intro to the second drop. So you could tell like the sound design in the Complextro part for this part does integrate some vocal chops in between, but like the sound design of Eccentric really is shown in this part. And like, man, he goes hard. Like some of those sounds are like so hard, but they're super clean sounds. Like I don't know how he does it. His productions are always so clean, but still, even within that part with the even harder kind of more wubbier, kind of more high-end sounding wubs thrown in there, they're still following like a type of chord progression. And it seems like in those Complextro parts, like it's going faster, but actually the percussion is pretty much the same. It's just maybe the rate in which the sounds kind of change is a lot quicker and a lot more sudden, so there's more sounds going on, so it almost seems like there's more going on, but like the percussion pretty much stays the same and the rhythm pretty much stays the same throughout the whole drop. So it's just pretty interesting, like when you have a more melodic section versus the Complextro section, because there's so many sounds kind of thrown in here and there and you're not exactly sure what to expect. And there's just so many things coming in and out. Like it just feels, at least to me, a little bit faster when you hear those sections versus kind of a more melodic section when chords are a little more drawn out and leads, because you kind of focus more on those than the rhythm. But yeah, I just like his bass lines as well. They're kind of like really in tune and really sharp to all the different wubs and changing and stuff like that. So let's keep going and let's finish the song. All right, so we'll backpedal a little bit. So basically, in that melodic drop, it's really cool. The lead really shines, and the chord progression really shines. I think that's where I remember the more prominent saw wave kind of sounds being played on the chord progressions. But you could tell like that lead is really catchy, and that chord progression is really good. And you notice how the complextro drop didn't change too much from that chord progression, other than like there was the wubs were kind of playing that chord progression instead of a lead being on top. So I played out, the rhythm was the same, the lead's super catchy, and then after that it outros in a pretty, it's not fast, like it's pretty smooth, the outro. I couldn't really hear too many effects. There might have been like a white noise effect or something like that, or he spaced it pretty well with the percussion, because I heard the kick come in a little bit more and then outro. But it's pretty interesting where he kind of takes out the percussion right after the drop, where he transitions it and then goes into a more 8-bit sound to outro. And then later on, after I would say 15 seconds, then the percussion comes in for a little bit, but filtered quite a bit to sound muted, along with that 8-bit sound to kind of outro the song, which is totally different than I think the intro of the song kind of came in pretty hard and pretty fast, with the kick kind of being at full blast. So it's a like a difference in terms of like the intro and the outro. Like the intro, like you have the kick kind of coming in guns blazing, where the outro kind of outros pretty nicely actually, where it's not just the same kick and snare kind of repeated throughout the whole section. So it kind of outros really nicely. I like the contrast of that. So overall, that's Eccentric song I Can Show You. A lot of takeaways from this song. I really do like this song. It's been a while for me listening to this song from Eccentric, but the complextro drop in the first part of the song is really good. I always love Eccentric's vocal chops, his bass lines, and his sound designed wubs. But his bass lines to me are just like the funkiest things I've ever heard. They're like so smooth, but they're so funky. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, even after working with him, I don't even understand. Like, I don't even know how to describe that. But they're just so good. They just sound good. And the best part, or my favorite part at least with this song, is the more melodic section towards the end of the section, because that lead to me is really catchy. Kind of that more melodic breakdown and that lead, that's really cool. And also one of the other bits I like is how he included a lot more 8-bit into this song, to make it almost like 8-bit electro slash complextro, whatever you want to call it. I like 8-bit music, but I like 8-bit music when it's integrated with more modern kind of techniques. So like electro is like really perfect fitting for like 8-bit sounds. So artists like Nitro Fun do that a lot, and he probably made that a little more popular, him and Hyper Potions a little bit, even though Hyper Potions doesn't make too much electro. They did that more with Future Bass, but I just like the integration of 8-bit music with electro. They just seem to pair really well. But overall, this is my APA video for I Can Show You. I hope you guys liked it. Definitely, follow Eccentric, listen to his music. He's a buddy of mine. He makes some really good stuff that I don't even understand how he makes. So he's really good. And just a fun fact, the outro song that you guys hear for kind of the clicking from the next video is actually the song Lost Without You that I collaborated with him. So that's kind of the outro song for the APA video and channel. So that's a cool little Easter egg there as well, in case you don't listen to my music or you didn't even know that and pay attention to the song. That is Lost Without You, the song I made with Eccentric. So yeah, I hope you guys, enjoyed this video. Definitely check out Eccentric. If for some reason you feel like commenting like, hey, a producer's approach sent you, like, you can comment that as well. But I think a lot of his music's on SoundCloud more so than YouTube. YouTube, you might have to, it's like a lot of his music's on different promotional channels, but a lot of his stuff's on SoundCloud. So definitely check out his stuff. And yeah, I hope you guys like this video. Eccentric, if you do watch this video, if there's anything I missed, feel free to comment down below. But anyways, I hope to see you guys in the future. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you feel like. Other than that, I believe that's it. Have a good one, everyone. Peace.
you.